I had a post on X go viral, over 2 million views, over 50,000 likes. So I figured I'd make a video going deeper on the topic. Here's what the post said. You can't get a $1 million mortgage if you make $100,000 a year. You can't get a $75,000 car loan if you make $35,000 a year. The fact that you can get $250,000 in student loans for a college degree where you're expected to earn $40,000 a year is unacceptable and a complete failure of U.S. society. We have 18-year-olds making financial decisions that all but guarantee a lifetime of economic insecurity. These kids do not have the capacity to understand the implications of the debt they are taking on. The corrupt university system has successfully convinced them going to college is the smart thing to do and that it will all work out. These colleges should have to take the financial hit when they load up 18-year-olds with hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt that basic math would tell you will never be repaid. The federal government backstopping all these student loans does nothing but enable colleges to jack up their prices every year with zero accountability. Shameful. And it's true, we've got 18-year-olds signing paperwork, locking them into a lifetime of financial insecurity with nobody stopping them. So let's break this down in a few different pieces. First, let's talk about how there's no income-based underwriting on student loans. Every other loan is based on your ability to repay the loan. When you get a mortgage, the amount a bank will give you is based on your income. When you get a loan to buy a car, it's the same thing. What is your income? How much debt service do you have? And can you afford to pay it? For a business loan, it's even stricter. But an 18-year-old with zero income history who may have never even had a job before can borrow 6 figures, no questions asked. The federal government will just hand it over. And the kid, they're told that college is the smart thing to do, it'll all work out, and they think they're doing the right thing. No one stops and says, hey, maybe you should do the math before you take on all this debt for a degree that's going to get you jobs that pay less than you could get if you don't go to college at all. Next, let's talk about subsidized demand and how that causes the prices of college to continue going up. The original idea behind student loans was probably a good idea. The government wanted to help people get educated, and so the heart was probably in the right place. But the reality is, once the government starts providing and backing loans, the government is artificially inflating demand for college. And what happens when the government subsidizes demand? Well, prices go up. It's what always happens. Higher education, healthcare, and housing always go up because the government is subsidizing demand. Click the link above to check out my video about housing and how housing prices have gone way up because of government subsidized demand, just like government subsidized demand drives up the price of college. And so the federal government provides and backs these loans, and so more students can afford to go to college than could otherwise afford to go to college. And so what do colleges do? They raise tuition year after year, decade after decade. And they're able to keep raising these prices and people keep paying them because the government is giving them the money, lending them the money to pay these ever-increasing prices. And colleges ultimately don't really care if the student loans get repaid. They have no skin in the game. They probably don't even track it because the school doesn't lose any money if the loans default. When the school's providing the education, the government is giving them the money through the student loans, the students graduate and have debt the rest of their lives, and the colleges, they're just out of the picture. There's no bank involved that loses money. The federal government's backing everything. The student is the one left holding the bag, and also technically the U.S. taxpayer, because the U.S. taxpayer is ultimately paying for these loans that don't get repaid. Now imagine this. If universities took a financial loss when student loans weren't repaid, what do you think they'd do? Well, they would start underwriting degrees based on the expected outcomes of the degree. And if the expected income from a degree was low, they wouldn't give out loans for hundreds of thousands of dollars because they would know if they gave those loans out, they're probably not going to get that money back. So if a particular degree doesn't lead to good paying jobs, the schools would either stop offering them altogether or drastically reduce the price of the degree. But today there's zero incentives for colleges to cut bad degrees or lower prices of bad degrees. They're going to keep offering these $200,000 sociology and communications degrees because the money keeps coming in because the federal government is providing the money. And the students can't even discharge the loans in bankruptcy. When you file bankruptcy, you can get rid of credit card debt, car loans, business loans. Most all loans can be wiped out by a judge when you file bankruptcy, but student loans, they can't be wiped out. You're stuck with them. And so an 18-year-old gets suckered into getting these loans for these worthless degrees, and it's stuck with them the rest of their life. They can't even file bankruptcy and get a chance to start over. They're stuck with them forever. Even if your degree is worthless, even if your income is only $40,000 a year, you still owe that money, every penny, for the rest of your life. Now let's look at a quick real-world example. Let's say you take out $200,000 to get a sociology degree. Maybe that $200,000 is in an expensive private school undergrad program. Maybe it's an undergrad with some graduate school on top of it. After you graduate, what are you earning? $45,000, $50,000 a year? You're never gonna pay that $200,000 loan back. You're just not. Once you pay living expenses, you're barely making it by anyway. And again, you were 18 years old when you made that decision. You didn't understand compounding interest. You didn't understand career trajectories. You were just told that college was the smart thing to do, and you didn't think to run the numbers on what am I gonna make and how much debt am I gonna have? What is my monthly debt payment gonna be? What is my monthly income gonna be from the job the debt I'm getting is going to allow me to get? And am I going to be able to pay that loan and still live a comfortable life? And everyone around you reinforced the idea that you should go to college. And there was a system where the federal government was providing loans and the colleges had no accountability, and it's just not right. Now here's how to fix the problem. It's very simple. The federal government needs to stop backing student loans. Let the private sector handle it. If a university wants to offer financing to students, great. If they want to partner with banks to provide student loans, that's great too. Whether it's the university providing loans or the banks, they're going to evaluate the student loans the same way that loans are evaluated for a house or a car. It has to make sense. The loan amount has to make sense for how much money the borrower is going to make. And if a bank isn't willing to lend $200,000 for a particular degree, that's a sign. And that degree is either going to get a lot cheaper or go away altogether. And guess what? The price of college is also going to come down fast. Students would have to choose degrees with good return on investment. Trade schools, apprenticeships, learning a skill, those would become real alternatives to going to college again. And don't get me wrong, college is great for many, but it doesn't make sense for everyone, and we shouldn't be telling everyone that they need to go to college. And so in closing, we need more electricians, we need more welders, we need more HVAC technicians, we need more people that work with their hands to build and maintain the physical world around us. We might be in a tech-enabled world with AI and all this stuff going on, but guess what? There's still things that need to be built and fixed in the physical world every day, and those jobs are in very high demand. And many people that graduate high school that like to work with their hands, that enjoy that type of work, should be encouraged to go into that type of work instead of getting in debt for worthless degrees. And so let's stop handing teenagers blank checks for degrees they'll never be able to repay. It is a total scam. And the only way to stop this is to cut off the federal money. Let schools and banks carry the risk of student loans, and let's stop having kids and the U.S. taxpayer being the ones taking on this risk. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you've lived through this or if you're trying to dig out of it, drop your story below. And if you're 17 or 18 years old, about to graduate from high school, and people are telling you you should get a massive amount of student loans to go to college because that's how you're going to be successful, think twice. Find someone that can help you run the numbers and make sure what you're doing makes sense for your future goals, and make sure you make decisions that are going to help you get where you want to be. Don't just go to college because that's what you're told you should do. We'll see you next time.